What if the British monarchy's greatest scandal wasn't splashed across tabloids, but buried for decades in secret files, whispered confessions, and silent acts of betrayal? What if the man crowned king had his reign ripped away, not by death, not by abdication, but by a vote taken in hushed voices behind locked palace doors? And what if the shocking removal was triggered by the death of the most beloved woman in modern royal history? This is the story of how King Charles was escorted out of Buckingham Palace under cover of darkness, how new evidence about Princess Diana's death shattered the monarchy from within, and how her name was finally cleared nearly 30 years after that night in Paris. Stay until the end, because the way this story ends will change how you look at the royal family forever. It all began quietly in April 2025. A Geneva-based international inquiry was launched. At first, the British press barely covered it, dismissing it as yet another Diana conspiracy circle. But this time, it wasn't fueled by gossip. It was fueled by proof. Leaked MI6 documents began circulating among investigators. Redacted pages from an operation long buried under the code name Operation Page. The findings were explosive. Timelines from the night of August 31st, 1997 didn't match official reports. Witness statements have been altered. Medical logs from the Paris emergency services were missing entirely. And then came the line that would change everything. Among the files was a 1996 handwritten note from Diana herself, long dismissed as paranoia by the establishment. In her graceful script, she wrote, "My husband is planning an accident in my car." Those words, simple, chilling, were now officially re-entered as evidence. Suddenly, French officials who had stayed silent for decades began cooperating. Emergency response records from that night revealed delays so precise they could not be explained as coincidence. From the depths of anonymity came a voice. A former royal chauffeur. He described, in careful detail, being ordered to make specific modifications to Diana's vehicle in the weeks before Paris. But the most haunting testimony came from a dying man, known only as Agent L. In May 2025, from a hospital bed, frail and pale, he recorded a video confession. "We were told to watch her. We were told not to save her." His trembling voice broke as he explained, Diana's phone had been cloned. Her conversations were monitored in real time. On the night of the crash, the objective was not to kill, but to send a message. And yet, a classified directive ordered the emergency response be delayed. That delay, according to Agent L, was the difference between life and death. Then he produced the detail that stunned even seasoned investigators. GPS logs placing a royal vehicle just 500 meters from the Pont de l'Alma tunnel at the exact time of the crash. This vehicle had never been accounted for in any official report. Within days, 2 more former intelligence officers confirmed his story. One admitted to cloning Diana's phone. The other revealed MI6 had live video surveillance from Paris that night, footage erased within hours of her death. While Charles's reputation was already under siege, a second figure emerged in the inquiry's crosshairs: Camilla Parker Bowles. Recovered letters between Charles and Camilla, sealed for decades, contained cryptic but damning lines. "This must end before our future can begin." Multiple former palace aides, speaking under oath, alleged that in the summer of 1997, Camilla told Charles there would be no royal wedding approval unless Diana was out of the picture. Even more alarming, investigators uncovered deleted messages from 1996 in which Camilla referred to Diana as a threat to stability and discussed preventing certain public appearances for discretion. A disgraced MI5 officer linked directly to Camilla's private network had resigned just days after Diana's death. His phone records had been scrubbed, his final movements unaccounted for. Inside the palace, tension became unbearable. Princess Anne reportedly told close staff that Charles and Camilla were becoming a growing liability. In early May 2025, an unprecedented moment occurred. William and Harry stood united for the first time in years. They arranged a private confrontation at Sandringham, away from cameras, press, and prying eyes. William brought with him a thick folder, Diana's final letters, MI6 surveillance logs, decrypted transcripts from 1997. A palace insider later revealed the moment William placed the folder on the table, locked eyes with his father, and said, "You knew, and you let it happen." Harry, having flown in from California solely for this meeting, backed his brother without hesitation. The conversation lasted over 3 hours. At its breaking point, Charles's voice reportedly shook as he admitted, "I could have stopped it, but I didn't." Those 7 words, haunting, unforgettable, would change royal history. Within weeks, the Privy Council convened an emergency session under the rarely used Regency Act, a constitutional measure allowing for the suspension of a monarch deemed unfit to rule. The Archbishop of Canterbury arrived, carrying a sealed document from the Church of England endorsing removal on moral grounds. The vote, 9 in favor, 3 against. In that moment, King Charles's royal authority was suspended indefinitely. His insignias, CR, were ordered removed from palace walls, royal seals, and official documents. Outside Buckingham Palace, thousands gathered in candlelight vigils, chanting, "Justice for Diana." Just before sunrise, a small team of royal security entered Charles's private residence at Buckingham Palace. No red uniforms. No fanfare. No goodbye speech. Charles was escorted out through the rear gates in silence, head down, carrying nothing but the weight of a crown he no longer wore. Camilla, however, refused to go quietly. Witnesses say she shouted at staff, demanding to speak to William. When told she had been barred from direct contact, she reportedly screamed, "You're all traitors. This isn't over." It was over. Charles was relocated to Highgrove House, stripped of royal designation. Camilla's future was already collapsing. In the days that followed, forensic investigators recovered deleted messages between Camilla and 2 former aides from 1996. Messages interpreted as coded attempts to interfere with Diana's movements and media coverage. Under mounting pressure from the public, the church, and even within the palace, the Privy Council issued a royal decree. Camilla's title of Queen Consort was revoked. She was restored to Duchess of Cornwall. She was banned from attending any events involving William's children. Her approval rating collapsed below 10%, and over 5 million people signed petitions demanding her permanent exile from royal institutions. Camilla now lives in seclusion in rural Scotland. No staff briefings, no ceremonial duties, and no role in the monarchy's future. With Charles removed, the monarchy faced a vacuum. Under an accelerated clause of the Regency Act, William was sworn in as Prince Regent, the de facto head of state, without requiring his father's death or abdication. A sealed letter from Queen Elizabeth II, written years before her death, was read aloud. William is the moral compass of the monarchy. When the time comes, he must lead. Kate Middleton stepped forward as the monarchy's new public face, graceful, steady, and unshaken. One of William's first acts as regent was to honor his mother's memory in a way the palace had never done. A $15 million memorial fund in Diana's name was launched, funded by redirected assets from Charles's former estate. In Hyde Park on July 7, 2025, a new statue was unveiled. Diana walking, smiling, holding the hands of young William and Harry. The crowd fell silent as 10-year-old Princess Charlotte took the microphone and said, "My grandmother changed the future without ever seeing it. We love her. We remember her, and we thank her." Crowds wept. Across the UK, candlelight vigils lit up the night. For the first time in decades, Diana's name was officially and proudly honored by the crown. William introduced unprecedented transparency reforms, quarterly financial disclosures, open access archives for historical royal documents, the Royal Truth and Reconciliation Archive, a digital platform for public testimony and document requests. On August 1st, 2025, Buckingham Palace was illuminated with two simple words projected onto its gates: never again.
Public approval soared to 72%, the highest in a generation.
Young Britons who had long ignored the monarchy began to see it as relevant again, a bridge between history and hope. Charles remains in seclusion at Balmoral, reportedly writing an unofficial memoir. Camilla's name has been erased from official royal materials. The monarchy, for the first time in decades, stands not above the people, but with them. And at its heart is the woman whose light could never be extinguished: Diana, the people's princess. Now, the moral compass of the crown she once challenged. He walked in a king. He walked out forgotten. And the woman they tried to erase is now the brightest star in the royal sky. But is this truly justice? Or just the first crack in a palace wall, still hiding deeper secrets? One thing's certain: the crown will never be the same.